Hello everyone and welcome to SUTV Live as Sheffield United head to Reading, aiming to get back on track in the race for automatic promotion. Win tonight's game in hand and the Blades would re-establish a 7-point lead over the chasing pack. Before kick-off at 8, we'll look at where it went wrong at Blackburn and hear from Paul Heckingbottom and John Fleck, as well as looking back at the last meeting between these two clubs. Kick-off just under an hour away, and for all of the match pass information and broadcasting regulations for tonight's game, please go to the website sufc.co.uk. Welcome along. The finishing line is now in sight and Sheffield United have an opportunity to take a big stride forward in their quest for Premier League football. Joining me here at Bramall Lane in our studio, it is the former Sheffield United player Mark Duffy and current Macclesfield maestro, it says here. Feeling good about this?
Yeah, confident.
You will be confident though. You've been in a good mood as well after events at Anfield on Sunday, I would have thought. You've enjoyed that too,
It was a really good afternoon.
Yeah,
definitely.
Chris Morgan here as well. Pressure is on now, Chris. Business end and all that. How easy is it to cope with that pressure as a player?
No, it's not easy at all. You know, at the end of the day, it's a pressurised situation. Top of the league. You know, and obviously after a defeat at the weekend, you know, the lads will be looking to go to Reading tonight and get a win. But it'll not be easy. I think tonight's going to be about character and digging in.
Let's have a look at the team news then for Sheffield United. One alteration to the team from the weekend. John Fleck drops out and John McAtee comes in. Thoughts on that, Chris?
It's an interesting one. Maybe just a bit more, you know, attacking prowess, a little bit more in the final third. You know, again, Flecky's been out injured. You know, is it just a bit of a rotation one, fresh legs straight after the weekend?
Yeah, let's have a look at the formation. We know that what that's going to be like. It's settled now. It's set in stone, isn't it? And that probably helps as well, the understanding, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think that's what it's been. That's what the lads are used to. So no, I can't see any change in that at all.
And in terms of bouncing back from the weekend, we've used that phrase too often recently, where Sheffield United are concerned. What will the manager be looking for tonight, Mark?
He'll just be looking for a typical Sheffield United performance. You know, full of energy, full of quality. I think, you know, he's probably made that change in midfield, McAtee for Fleck, just for a little bit more energy, because obviously, you know, he has been out injured, John. So we don't want him to, you know, we don't want to flog him too much. And obviously going away, Reading's pitch is a nice big pitch. McAtee will be able to pick up nice little pockets of space and he'll be able to drive with the ball and carry it the way he does and hopefully cause them real problems.
The door has been left ajar for Middlesbrough. We can't hide from that fact. But victory tonight creates that 7-point gap again. If they were to do that, do you think Middlesbrough's hopes of catching United would be all but over then?
I think 3 points tonight, Paul, is massive. I think it's dangerous to sit here and say that the door's totally slammed shut, but I think 7 points at this stage of the season, obviously no more games in hand. I think that's big. You know, you're talking basically three wins. You know, so I think if we can go down there tonight, win that game in hand, it's a massive statement.
Agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree with it. You know, psychologically, the players will know how big this game is. You know, everyone watching them, I'm sure the Middlesbrough players will be watching it also. And it is one of those moments, a pivotal moment in the season of, you know, if you win, you're sort of very close to the finish line. But on the flip of that, if you lose, now all of a sudden you are really looking behind you.
This is where the manager will be looking towards his leadership group, I would have thought as well, won't he? In that dressing room, to not only lead by example, but to make sure that everybody is focused and handling the nerves in the right way.
Yeah, I think sometimes, to be fair, Paul, I think things can be overthought. You know, at the end of the day, we've got ourselves to this stage of the season by playing good football and winning games. And all of a sudden, again, you know, I sort of drawn my experience as more or less exactly the same when Leeds were hunting us down. And they got to a stage where I think the hunters get within shooting distance of you. And I think if then you can find that result, which is tonight, you basically you push the Huns away, and that's what we ended up doing with Leeds. And I think the other week where Middlesbrough got close, they lost a game, and we beat Watford here, which was a big result. You know, and I think similar again tonight. So I think sometimes we can go into characters and leaders, and you know, some of them young lads in the dressing room will probably pick some of the older ones up by, you know, just their youthful exuberance. You know, going out tonight, like Duff's just said there, you know, it's a big pitch. Go out, you know, come on, these lads who we've brought in on loan, or let's see what they're. It's not, you know, it's not always the older ones. Yeah, they're the ones in the dressing room that I'm sure in the build-up will be, you know, keeping everything calm. But I think once they get out on that pitch tonight, it's and again, I wrote it on my piece of paper earlier on. I really don't care tonight. I just think it's character, dig in, get a result, get on the bus and get home. It's one of them nights for me. No fuss.
I think he's right in the sense the older players will probably realise how much it means tonight, where the younger players just, you know, they go out there and they just enjoy it because they probably think this happens all the time, you know, winning leagues or going for promotion. But as you go through your career, you soon realise how special these seasons are because they don't come round very often. So, you know, the older players will try to educate the younger players on how important it is and all the rest of it. But there's only so much they can say. The younger players just go out there and play with the freedom, like Illiman. You know, you don't want to put too much in his head. You just want him to go out there and do what he does and enjoy it.
The manager touched on mental fatigue after the defeat of the weekend. Just how much of a problem can that be for a player?
I think mental fatigue is greater than the physical. You know, they're all fit lads. They've done pre-seasons. They've played a lot of games, so they're fine. It is the mental state, and I think I saw Eki's press in terms of he was going to have him in on Sunday. You know, go home, spend some time with your families. Perfect. You know, just sometimes get away from each other, switch off. You'll always have it in the back of your mind. You know, on Sunday afternoon when you are at home doing something with kids, whatever, you've got another massive game coming up on Tuesday night. So it's not like the lads have gone away at the weekend after Blackburn and just switched off. They're not. They're just doing something away from football rather than going in and putting the kit on again and warming up and going through the same. They've just done something different. You know, taking dog for a walk, whatever people choose to do. 10-pin bowling with kids, whatever. Just switch off for a little bit. Do something different. Come back in on Monday morning and get ready to go to work.
When you are on the cusp of it, like United are now, you've been in that situation before, Mark, as well. How easy is it to try and distract yourself from the day job?
It's not easy because it's always on your mind, and you know, obviously all the social media and everything now, it's constantly brought up. But when you go home, for me, obviously I've got a wife and kids. They soon distract you. You know, the kids are wanting to go out and do stuff, and your missus wants to do stuff. All of a sudden, you're just a normal person. You're a dad. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite quickly, it soon changes. But then, you know, it's really good to switch completely off from it and be something else rather than just a footballer, because sometimes it can consume you because of the pressures and, as we talked about, the mental fatigue. It does get on top of you because there's a lot at stake.
For you, it was about getting the wellies on, wasn't it? Getting out there with a dog.
Always.
Yeah. Still do that now, I bet.
Wellies on, flat cap.
Yeah.
Take the dogs out, switch off, and then you bump into somebody that wants to talk about football.
Of course. We have our stereotypical Yorkshireman here in the studio tonight, but nothing wrong with slapping the wellies on and the flat cap and going out with the dog mugs. Not at all.
Definitely not.
We are building up to Reading against Sheffield United. It kicks off at 8. And you can follow it with us here on SUTV Live. Right, Sheffield United's last visit ended in victory. Jayden Bogle got the only goal of the game, and he took time out to talk to us a few moments ago.
Jayden, this is a familiar place for you, a familiar town as well.
Yeah, my hometown. I'm excited for it. Big game. We know what we need to do. We need to go out there, put on a big performance and look to get the 3 points. And I think we've prepared well throughout the week for it, as we do for every game coming up now, because they're all massive games. So yeah, we're ready for it.
You'll take a similar performance and similar result and similar goal scorer to last season here, yeah?
Yeah, definitely had a good time out last season. Hopefully you can repeat it again tonight.
Because you're a Reading boy, you've got family and friends around?
Yeah, family and friends, they'll be coming tonight to support. So that'll be nice. But yeah, full focus on the game and getting the result. Yeah,
after the disappointment of Saturday, obviously you had Sunday off, a bit of a reset on Monday and Tuesday ahead of this?
Yeah, definitely. Just try and erase that from our minds and get focused on the next game, because, as I said, every game coming up now is massive and we need big results.
All the best, mate.
Perfect, thank you.
Well, the Blades looking for a response tonight after Saturday's defeat at Blackburn, especially in that second half.
Another big game at the top. Blades, as you can see, in red and white. Blackburn, their traditional home strip. Blackburn can break. Good work from Thomas. Plenty of blue and white shirts streaming forward here. Dolan wants it played. Here is Tyrese Dolan. And a chance for Pickering, and it's a terrific finish from Harry Pickering. A blistering break from Blackburn Rovers. From one end of the pitch to the other, Sheffield United caught out, and the home side have the lead. Low, Berger strike, well held by Ainsley Pears. Bogle, great first touch. Bogle squares it, could have gone anywhere. Header there, chance here, well saved by Pears. In from Robinson again. Fleck, really good blow, that was goal bound. Great break here from Basham, still going. Chris Basham, wonderful stuff, can he finish? Basham did everything right until the finish. Fleck with a cross. McBurney's header. I think Paul Heckingbottom will have been pleased with a lot of what he saw in the first half. Oswald will provide some energy for United. And Jai. Berger. Baldock. It's took a nick, I think, off someone and rolled through to Pears. Blades fans trying to play their part. Won by Robinson. There's Berger. In from McAtee. Comes back for Robinson. Then McBurney. Comes the corner into the near post. Might get a chance to put it back in the mix here, United. Blackburn Rovers have defeated Sheffield United by 1-0.
Well, afterwards, Paul Heckingbottom gave an honest appraisal of his side's performance.
Listen, we weren't our best. I've been saying, I think the way to sum it up would be just had the... I know it's coming with the stats about, a bit more possession than them, more attempts, more on target, more expected goals, this type of thing, but this is why I don't get too carried away with it. We weren't at our most fluent best, with I thought first half we passed it well on a difficult pitch and got in some real good areas, and we lacked quality in them final moments. And I expect us to go on in the second half, if I'm honest, and win the game. Not draw the game, win the game. But Blackburn started the second half better than us, and then we were having to force the changes, whether that was personnel and then tactical. And then when we did start to get territory, we couldn't make enough real good opportunities. We had one or two half attempts, a couple of opportunities from set plays. This is the second half, so we, regardless of what anyone's saying, we know we weren't at our best today.
In terms of the goal as well, a disappointing one to concede. They seem to get so many players on the overlap quickly.
So first half, they had 3 attempts, and 2 of them were counter-attacks, and 1 was where we left a runner. That was it. That's why I expect us to go on in the second half. That sort of stuff's easy to deal with. You run harder than them, and you trap people. So I honestly thought we'd go on and continue where we left off in terms of passing the ball, but then snuff them out more. But we didn't do it, and like I said, we had to then change personnel, change tactically, which got us the territory back, got us the momentum, got us on top. But we couldn't get enough chances to fashion the result we wanted.
Well, he seemed particularly puzzled by Sheffield United's second half display at the weekend. How concerned will he be as the club's manager right now?
No, I think, to be fair, Eck, he's clever, he's calculated. He'll know that. You could hear him talking there that there was bits of Saturday's game that weren't us. It weren't what he expects to see. But no, he's not a panicker. I'm sure they've gone back in the dressing room, and we've got done on a classic counter attack. We were just talking about it there, and it is training ground stuff. Suck people on, and then can you break at pace, and can you get people forward? And they've done us on the counter. It is about marking and tracking runners, and you could tell he was disappointed with that. But I think in general he was expecting, the message I got from him speaking there was that he expected more from us second half.
Still had chances though in the game, and we heard him talk there about even the numbers, the stats are stacking up in the right areas, but just couldn't add that final bit.
Yeah, but also what he said was, you know, sometimes the stats can be misleading. There wasn't great chances. You know, probably the best chance was Bash's one, and he's created that himself. He's gone on, you know, a Bash type of run, gone through and he's opened the defence up. But you know, it wasn't clear-cut chances where we would say, oh, we're disappointed that he's really missed that. But it just wasn't a Sheffield United type of performance. It lacked a little bit of energy and quality, really. So hopefully tonight we'll have that back.
Do you think the Spurs game took its toll?
Yeah, after a night like that, there's a lot of euphoria, isn't there? There's a lot of, you know, it's a big game. You know, it's a full house. It's on TV. You're playing a Premier League team. The players want to give a good account of themselves. You know, changes to the team. He freshened it up a little bit, and you know, all the talk is let's not be distracted. But of course, it's a distraction. You know, you've just beat a Premier League team at home, and in the FA Cup, and you're through to the quarterfinals. But again, the professionalism is right. Okay, that's done. Away you go. And we crack on with Blackburn away Saturday. And you know, it weren't an awful display. You know, it was, you know, probably Eki would rather been at home against Blackburn Saturday. You know, after the Spurs game, rather than going away. You know, just that travelling and then being away from home. If it had been a home game, I think it'd have been a lot different.
Yeah. And what about this one tonight? How do you see this? I mean, Reading absolutely woeful away, but at home, tough nut to crack.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Obviously, the way they are, they really are poor away from home. You know, you've got to look at that. Is that a mentality of their players? But sometimes as well, you know, you play against oppositions, teams, and you just feel like you've got the edge over them. And I think what I would be saying to the players, the Sheffield United players tonight is, you know, remember what you've done to them at Bramall Lane. You know, you really did turn them over, and it could have been, you know, 5 or 6 on the night. So they have got to remember how dominant he was at home, and it's a nice big pitch. You know, we have got quality players, and we can move that ball around the pitch. And Reading players obviously was on the end of an iron on the weekend as well, so they won't be looking forward to this game because obviously Sheffield United have lost the game. They were wanting to bounce straight back. You know, there's a lot at stake, so it's a really interesting game.
Let's have a look at the league table as it stands then. It still looks very healthy from a Sheffield United point of view. Could look even healthier by close of play tonight. That's the position they find themselves in. How do you think the players will feel when they have a look at that?
Happy. And again, I think if you'd have said to the squad, you know, when you come back for pre-season and you all sit in that meeting room and the manager stands in front and says, right lads, how are we mapping out the season? Where do you want to be? And if the manager stands in front of you in that meeting pre-season and says, listen, first week in March, we're second in the league, you know, 4 points clear of third with a game in hand, all the lads are jumping up saying, yeah, happy days, come on, let's crack on, let's fast forward to March. So, yeah, it's a great position to be in, and the lads have worked hard to get in that position. So now it's just that final stretch of the season, isn't it? Yeah. And it's it's cliches, but it's the business end of the season.
That's why we all love it when
exactly.
It takes twists and turns like this, Mark, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, and obviously that's why you're in football. You want to be involved in, you know, in promotion winning seasons and stuff like that, but it is nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie. I think when we went up, we was chasing Leeds, and Leeds took a few points ahead of us, and I think over the Easter weekend we caught them. There was 4 points difference. They lost the early kick-off and we won, so it can swing about, but it's just about concentrating on your game and just doing the business for your team.
Is form a worry at the moment when you look at it? 3 defeats and 4 in the league?
Yeah, I don't think we can get away from that. I think 3 defeats in 4. You know, 1 win away from home in the last 4 or 5. You know, so yeah, it's not ideal by any stretch, but we've got that gap. So in many ways, we've given ourselves that opportunity. You know, and you're always going to have them types of spells within any season. And you know, unfortunately, it's just come at a time where Middlesbrough are absolutely flying. You know, they're scoring a lot of goals. You know, they're changing their team up, and they're basically, you know, tearing everything up that comes in front of them. So yeah, we've, whichever way you look at it, again, I feel like I'm
not looking for negatives at all. I'm really not.
No.
But we have to address certain facts, don't we?
Yeah.
Slow starts have been an issue as well recently. That's something that has to change, doesn't it? They've got to come out flying out the blocks, as they have done for the majority of this season. You don't want to be giving teams a leg up now, do you?
No, definitely not. I think it's different away from home, though, Paul. I think you can do that here. I think you can do it at home. You know, going away from home at Reading tonight, you know, and again, you touched on it. They've only lost 3 at home all season. So this is a tricky game. This by no means is an easy game.
Can't just go out all guns blazing, because obviously Reading have showed that they can score goals as well. So if they do that and all of a sudden Reading score, or they get 2, it's all of a sudden it's like, what's happened here? And that's when the pressure starts to mount even more. So they have got to play their game, but they're also, you know, got to be mindful of, you know, sending too many bodies forward, because there's still a long way to go. There's still a lot of games to play.
More from the guys to come as we build up to Reading against Sheffield United. But we're just going to change tack for now and talk about Sheffield United's women's team, because they got their first win under new manager Jonathan Morgan at the weekend to pull themselves away from the bottom of the table. In a moment, we'll hear from him and one of the goal scorers, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. But first, let's have a look at how it played out against London City Lionesses.
Goes the delivery, Ag's flick on header, and it's just about crossed the line. London City Lionesses in front. Joel, closed down instantly by Paul. And gets the ball into the 6-yard box, ricocheting inside the area. Strike from distance is gathered. Fitzgerald just trying to get it out of her feet. They've given it away here, London City Lionesses. It's a useful ball over the top as well. And finished by Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. Sheffield United level. Enderby chasing. And still Enderby, and she wins it as well. Mia Enderby finishes. And Sheffield United, having been behind, now lead. The 17-year-old Mia Enderby with her 6th of the season. Picked up by Carusa, struck by Ag. Really good save by Stenson. And there goes the full-time whistle. It's a huge win for Sheffield United and a first for Jonathan Morgan as head coach.
In all honesty, I think London City didn't break us down that much. We allowed them to get the wide areas, hence why they went down the wing quite a lot, because we know they like to play in those ways. But we basically gave that up because we knew that, from our point of view, it wasn't the danger area. But again, we worked on last week, we built on it, and they got the result they deserved.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. I think, look, we were so disappointed last week against Palace. I think, look, you see what Jonathan's trying to do with us in terms of the things he's implemented. I think we did that well last week and maybe got ahead of ourselves, because realistically it's only been a couple of weeks since he's been in. So obviously every training session he's trying to drip feed different bits into us, and yeah, today it came together.
Do you know what I loved about it was the fact that every time the ball went out, every time we Frank caught the ball, every time we made a clearance, not just the touchline, but everyone on the pitch was screaming and cheering for those moments, and those moments are just as big as the 2 goals that we scored. It's really pleasing that we were able to put together both ends of the pitch today, but as I said to the guys after the game, right, that's done now. We focus on Palace. This is just one set of 3 points of hopefully many to come for us this season, for the rest of the year, and we'll see what we're doing now next week.
Sheffield United women moving in the right direction. That's 2 wins out of 3 now. They're 9th in the table, and they are 8 points clear of bottom side Coventry. Back in action this coming weekend here against Crystal Palace, a 2 o'clock kickoff. Get down if you can. Right, back to the men's team, just to have a look at what's coming their way in the next few weeks. Well, they host Luton Town here at the weekend. We are on air from 2 o'clock. That is a big game as well. They all are at this stage of the season. Then a trip to the Stadium of Light next Wednesday, an 8 o'clock kickoff. We're on air an hour before. And then, of course, Sheffield United against Blackburn for a place in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. And we've not really talked in any way about the FA Cup yet, Chris, but what an incentive there when it finally comes around.
Yeah, you're playing a team in your own from your own league, you know, for a chance to get into FA Cup semi-final. You know, normally at this stage you're playing all the big guns, aren't you? Your Chelsea's, your Man United's, Man City's, and Liverpool's, etc. And you're thinking it's going to be tough at this. It becomes real.
Stop raising your eyebrows, Dustin.
It becomes real, you know. And that's not me being disrespectful at all to Blackburn, but you've got a team from your own league to get into a semi-final.
And if Grimsby were to win at Brighton, Sheffield United Grimsby in the FA Cup semi-final for the right to go to the final.
I was just a little bit disappointed Liverpool was fourth on the big hitters there. That's what I was raising my eyebrows to.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah, of course he did.
No, but it's unbelievable incentive, and obviously, you know, and Grimsby as well. What a story that is.
Yeah, well done to Paul Hurst, who doesn't live too far away from me. Anyway, that's irrelevant to what we're talking about. Just digress. Let's look back, shall we, at the reverse meeting between Sheffield United and Reading earlier in the season. They occupied the top 2 spots that day, but Sheffield United got the job done in some style.
This championship clash is underway. Reading kicking towards the cup. Bell back to his feet. Here he is. Lowe's first time cross is a really good one, and Ollie McBurney heads Sheffield United in front. Second in as many games on his 100th appearance for United. Ollie McBurney, what a boost to his confidence on Friday night. He's on the score sheet again. Reflector behind. X and a terrific finish. Arma Hodic, second goal for the Blades. Met it like a striker, and United are 2-0 up on Reading. Couldn't have hit that any better. Look at the light on his face. Terrible pass though, straight to the red and white jersey. Lowe's going to break here for the Blades. Berger's up with him, here is Sander Berger. Now Njayi. Njayi, wonderful again. Iliman Njayi. Another goal for the Senegalese international. He's the man in form of the run for the Blades. He's 4 for the season, and United lead by 3-0. Here comes the corner. Keeper stays at home this time. Reading clear. Final 10 minutes of this contest. McAtee. Norwood. McAtee again. Basham, and it goes from Norwood, wonderful cross, There's the 4th, it's that man again, Arma Hodic with his second, wonderful cross from Norwood, United streaking away with this one, 4-0 to the Blades.
Some performance, some result. Does that have any bearing on tonight, Chris?
None whatsoever, I don't think. But I'd take that now. If we could just pick that up and put that to end of tonight, then everybody will be happy. So,
did you ever read into previous results when you faced a team, Mark?
No, what? Sometimes when I played, I had teams or players that I enjoyed playing against. And sometimes you can look at a certain opposition and you go, right, I'm up against them tonight. I've won a lot of the duels or the 1v1 battles against them, and sometimes you've had those. You'll probably played against some strikers where you think, oh my God, like, I'm gonna have to kick him everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Or you look at him and think, wow, like, what a player he is. And I think with that 4-0, they might have a little bit of that in their mind. Sometimes players enjoy playing against certain teams.
And we've spoken about the run, which hasn't been great of late, but that's just another reminder of how good United have been and can be in this division.
Yeah, I think you look at them goals that we scored on that night against Reading, and it's putting the ball into dangerous areas, getting people in the box, all things that Sheffield United are good at. putting teams under pressure. And we can do that tonight away from home. I think it has to be measured, it has to be calculated. Like Duff said earlier doors, you don't go away from home all gung-ho, particularly when you're on this type of run. It has to be controlled, but we've got good enough players to hurt Reading, and Reading, if you want, they're wounded, aren't they? They're wounded from the weekend, and the last thing they want to do tonight is concede an early goal.
Any memories of playing down at Reading?
They were always close games, weren't they? Yeah. They were always good games.
I remember Keith Gillespie getting sent off there. He literally came on and got sent straight back off, I think. Were you playing in that game? You must have been.
I think I were, yeah. I think he handed a transfer request in straight after.
I think he possibly might have done.
Straight after the game as well, which is strange when you've done something wrong to them. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was.
They were good games though. I remember John Harley scoring a cracking goal down there one year as well, maybe in a 3-2 win.
Yeah, they were always proper games. Always two good teams. Steve Coppell's teams and obviously Neil's team. So fond memories.
Yeah, tough times for them at the moment. They are a mysterious side to me, Reading. They've had some fabulous results this season. They've had some damn good hidings as well along the way. And they've obviously got issues off the field, the 6-point deduction that might come this week for financial issues. Yeah, they're an odd side to work out, aren't they?
One of those teams that have been in the Championship now for quite a long time. And, obviously when they've dropped down, you think they're going to bounce back. But all of a sudden, years go by and they find it, tougher and tougher. They try and throw money at it, but that's not always the answer. And what I would be concerned about them is the mentality away from home. The sign of a good team is where they can go away from home and they can grind out a 1-0 or a 0-0. They just can't seem to do that, and that is all down to character. There's nothing else about ability or work rate. It is just basically down to character and togetherness, and they just don't seem to have that at the moment.
You think they're at it as well with the manager, obviously with Paul, the way he was as a player, so I'm sure he has many sleepless nights thinking about it, because for me, if you're Paul Ince, the one thing you want your team to be described as is similar to yourself and having character and having guts.
Well, let's have a look at the Sheffield United team that's going to face Reading tonight. One change, McAtee is in, Fleck drops down to the bench. And you're liking the look of this team, aren't you?
Yeah, it is. It is the team. Other than Anel, who's obviously second game suspended. I think that team basically picks itself. There's no real surprises. I always think at wing back. I think we've got great options at wing back. I mean, obviously Ozzy's missed out on the squad tonight, but for me that is probably the strongest team that we could pick at this moment in time. Like we said earlier on, Flecky's been out injured, so it's a big ask to keep doing games. I saw him play down here the other week against Sheffield Wednesday. I think probably his last game before he went back into the first team. So it makes sense because there's still loads of games ahead as well. So probably a good night for James McAtee to come back in.
The manager's been asked a lot of questions about Sander Berger in the build-up to this. Not for the first time this season we've had the discussion on him. I think it probably comes from the fact that we know just how good he is, what quality he brings to this team, and when he doesn't hit that level, people look at him, don't they?
I think people just get a little bit frustrated with him, because when he's on his game, he's such a dominant player in the division. You just want to see it all the time, and it's even in games. You might see it for 20 minutes, and then he goes quiet. I think for him personally, if he wants to really kick on and go to that Premier League level, establish himself, he needs to do it more consistently, because he can do it in the Championship where he has spells for 20 minutes, but once he goes to that next level, it's a different monster.
Yeah, I agree. I think for a player that's discussed with getting a move every transfer window, I think the frustrating thing from the United fans' point of view is that they don't see that enough. They don't see that profile of a player that everybody talks about, whether it's January window, summer window, everybody always talks, are Sheffield United going to keep hold of Sander Berg? And they do, but then everybody thinks, well, come on then, let's see that Premier League player. He's a talented boy. You look at him, we all prefer him playing further forward. Sometimes he sits in that deeper role, but when he goes forward, but I think particularly when he goes forward down that right channel, he's a hell of a player. He's a great size. You know,
I think the frustration comes when he's on it and he drives past somebody with the ball. You think, why haven't you been doing that every time you get the ball? And I know you can't do it every time, but there's certain situations when it's perfect for him to do that, and he'll take the safe option and he'll pass sideways or something. But I think it's just a frustration with everyone.
Is that a confidence thing? Is that something the manager will be looking to coax out of him more? Because as Mark quite rightly points out, when he takes the shot on in and around the edge of the box, more often than not, something comes of it. So it is a surprise, isn't it, to us all watching when he doesn't do that.
Yeah, he's dominant, and he can actually go and win games by himself, whether that's scoring or providing for other people. But again, it might be a confidence thing. You know, we don't know him personally, so we don't know how he reacts to a bad game. You know, so the manager does, the other players in the dressing room do. So whether they're around him, they're trying to help him, he might be a massive confidence player. And if he has a little bit of a dip, it might affect him.
I think there's certain players that you play against in the Championship, whether it's like Midfield or and then we played Sesson down here, and they have nights where you just look at them and go, he's a different level. He's too quick, he's too powerful, he's just a finisher. And with Sander, he shows you glimpses of it, but you just want it to be more consistent.
In terms of Reading then, hammered by Middlesbrough at the weekend, how bruising would that have been for them as a group?
I think massive. I think it's a big defeat. A big defeat on the road. You've got to get back on the bus and travel back, and everybody's talking. Everybody's, you know, well, they should be talking about the game and what went wrong, and they're also, as a group of players, looking at, we've got Sheffield United at home, we've got Millwall at home, we've got Blackburn away. So they've got 3 huge games. So they could have a big part to play in what happens over the next few weeks. You know, they've got three massive games.
Does it make them dangerous?
Yeah, obviously it does make them dangerous, but at the same time, you know you can put goals past them. You know, the stats show that.
Joint worst defence in the division.
If you get in and amongst them, make it uncomfortable for them, really get after them, you know that they can fold.
Well, let's have a look at some of the players who are going to be involved for Reading tonight. You might not be too familiar with some of them, but others you probably will be. There are going to be 4 changes for Reading tonight. A changing goal, incidentally. Joe Lumley comes in. Holmes, Dan and Guinness Walker also start. Missing out Bazanis and Benge, Cassidy and Mate. And we've been discussing before we came on air about how Reading might go. I think we're pretty certain that it will be 3 centre-halves and wing-backs. How it quite pans out in front of those, not entirely sure. There's a lot of defenders in that starting 11. Does that tell you what they're trying to do tonight?
Possibly trying to break the goal up a
Quite
little
possibly,
bit.
Yeah.
or to use Jose's phrase, parking the bus. Yeah, and I think that selection shows what they're thinking in terms of it's damage limitation. You know, obviously they've got players in there attacking wise, Shane Long, Tom Ince, Andy Carroll, who, you know, are good players. You know, and I think they'll rely heavily on them 3. I just always like when teams try matching us up, because I never think that people are as good as playing the formation as what we are. So they think, oh, we'll put people up against them. We'll try and go man for man as such and match it up. Well, great, because I genuinely believe that we're the best team in the division at, you know, if you 5-3-2.
We used to love it when teams would match us up, because they'd only worked on it for 3-4 days, and we were like, oh, we've been doing this for 2 years. Like, your 3 days is not going to prevent us doing what we do, because we've mastered it. So when teams would come up against us, we just pulled them apart, because they'd get stuck in between. Is the centre half goes? Is it the full back? Is it who's going to mark him? And then all of a sudden they start pointing fingers at each other. It's your man, it's my man. And then all of a sudden it's 2-3-0.
So it almost gives you a bit of a, well, not a bit of a big lift before you go out into the pitch.
It's a confidence booster to say, well, we're going to match it up because yous are better at what yous do than what we are. And at home, they couldn't get to grips with the formation. So it doesn't surprise me that they're going to try and match it up tonight. But they haven't practiced. Well, they've only had a couple of days to work on it.
Let's have a look at some of the players to look out for Reading tonight. Well, we all know about this fella, don't we, Andy Carroll? We know about his aerial prowess. He's not prolific in terms of his goal scoring, we can certainly say that. Tom Ince can never be easy playing when your dad's the manager, but he has been their standout player, just as it turns out, this season. Top scorer with 9, 5 assists. Jeff Hendrick, experienced midfield player, scored a couple of crackers this season. Naby Sarr, Mamadou Loum doesn't start tonight, but anybody there that worries you particularly?
No, I'm not going to say particularly worries, but like you said, Tom Ince, Tom Ince on his day, he can be a top player and a goal scorer. Andy Carroll's got fantastic experience. He's a real good number 9, leads the line, and he affects centre halves. He really does. So the 3 centre halves for us tonight know that they're in a game. Yes, he's not got the legs he used to. Yes, he's older. He does take up very much a central position and he's a target. But if they can get runners off him, he will win his fair share in the air. So I think for us tonight, it's expecting to win seconds. You're not always going to win the first balls against him, so you've got to win the second balls.
I was just going to ask you how you would defend against somebody like that, because you, for example, would want to go and attack everything, whether it's Carroll or someone else, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Is this where you have to think differently against a player of that type?
Yes, and as a centre-half, you never want to, because you feel like you're giving in a little bit. But when somebody is that dominant and that strong in the air and strong physically into him, you either have to get a screen on, get a midfielder just to drop in front a little bit, so balls can't go into him easy. But I think with our 3 centre-halves, I think say for instance he goes up against John. John can afford to go in as tight as he wants, go in, expect to win the first balls, and then just tell Jack and Bash, listen, whatever comes off, whether it's off him or me, you're there to just sweep up. So you can literally go and lock onto him. But then it's the runners. It's the runners off.
I think also it's important to stop crosses because and keep him out the box, because he's not going to run him behind. So if you can stop crosses coming in, stop his service, keep him up the box, he's not really going to affect you. Yeah, he might jump into you, he might challenge for every ball, which he will. But at the end of the day, if you stop those crosses coming into the box, you're stopping the service. He's not going to really dribble past you or stuff like that. So, if I was the centre halves, I'd be saying make sure no crosses come in from any wide areas, and we'll get right up against them.
Edging closer to kick-off in Berkshire, Reading against Sheffield United is underway from 8 o'clock. Let's now hear from John Fleck, whose season has been disrupted by injuries. He's one of several players, though, who's seen it all during his time here. He thinks having that experience in the squad has benefited them enormously.
It has, yeah. Again, obviously it helps when you've been successful at times, and we've all stuck together when the disappointments happening. Is it the players I mentioned there, experienced players as well, so people like Billy and Bash, they sort of keep the dressing room intact.
Do you back the squad as it is right now to get the job done this year, given the experience that you've got and the fact that you've kind of been through this before?
Yeah, it should obviously benefit us in some sense, but it's up to us to keep working hard and training and getting these results out. I feel there may be more disappointments still to come, we don't know, but as long as we stick together, then you would hopefully have a chance.
And it's your game in hand at Reading tomorrow night. How are you kind of looking at that as a group? It seems like a good opportunity to try and bounce back straight away.
Yeah, well, regardless of who we're playing, we've got to obviously try and bounce back, as always the case. They've obviously had a disappointing result as well, and they'll be looking to do the same thing. So, yeah, it should be a good game.
Because they've got a bit chalk and cheese in terms of their form. They're away from, they've lost a few, home they haven't lost in a little while. I suppose that shows that there's some vulnerabilities in there that you can try and exploit.
Yeah, of course, it's been a bit of a mixed season for them. Obviously got some very good players and some experience as well, and an experienced manager. So, yeah, they'll be up for the game. We just need to make sure we're on at 100%.
John Fleck on the bench tonight, but what a servant he's been to this club. I mean, it's been such a shame, isn't it, that he's suffered with injuries this season in the manner that he has done. He's not been able to get that game time, and obviously the added competition as well has made it more challenging for him.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, first and foremost, he's been an unbelievable servant to the club. The quality he possesses is phenomenal. you know, I've worked closely with him and seen him in training every day, and you know, you're very glad when he's on your team. But yeah, unfortunately, he hasn't been able to stay fit this season as much as he'd like. But luckily, we have got that quality with Doyle and McAtee who could fill those voids, because without those, he would be a really big miss. But obviously, he's back fit now, and you know, as I say, there's quite a few games left of the season, so he could play a vital role, especially with that experience that he has got.
I don't know whether Ollie Norwood will be too pleased that he's been out for as long as he has, because he's had to take on more of the workload. By his own admission, he's done that this season, because Fleck hasn't been there to break things up and get those tackles in.
Yeah, I just think Fleck is a proper player. You know, you look at him, he's technically good, looks a great character. Again, I've only ever sort of bumped into him in and around the training ground, but just comes across as a proper lad. You know, somebody, like Duff's just said, somebody who you want in the team, and he's been the mainstay of the Sheffield United team over the past 5-6 seasons, easy. And I've always said, whenever Ollie Norwood and Flecky have played in that midfield together, they you know, you never expect to lose. You know, they're two real good players. But you know, I'm sure Ecky's glad to have somebody like Flecky back. Again, he'll use him wisely. You know, so he's played him Saturday, left him out tonight. Loads and loads of games to come, and he'll play a massive part, I'm sure.
He's not flashy, is he? And I mean that in terms of how he conducts himself.
No, not at all.
And characters like that are important, aren't they?
Of course,
he's a proper lad, isn't he?
He's just a proper lad. Yeah, you know,
you can tell.
Scottish hero, isn't he? So, you know, the way he's been brought up and stuff, he's just normal, down to earth lad, and you know, he's just a fantastic player and even better human being. So,
we're going to let you head off to the commentary position in a moment, but you know what time it is. It's prediction time, Mark.
I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to the Blades.
3-0, says Mark Duffy. We'll see whether that comes to fruition or not. Hopefully it does. We'll get Morgs' prediction soon, don't worry. He's not getting away lightly on this one tonight, I tell you. But we're going to hear more now from Paul Heckingbottom, who wants to see him big improvement tonight, especially after that second half display at Blackburn.
Yeah, I think there was a 10-minute spell in the second half. Right at the start, not bad, and then literally a couple of minutes in, we had a 10-minute spell up until 60 minutes. We started making changes where, yeah, we saw lots of things, like I said, lots of things that aren't us and players won't be happy with. So that's important. It's important to identify what those things are and why they can't happen.
Does it feel there's an extra kind of significance on this one in terms of showing everyone and getting that 3 points ahead? Obviously, game in hand's great, because you know if you win it, you're extending the gap. And it's like I said, the position we're in the league, every game now is big. Every game, and it's always about what we do, not anyone else, because the position we've got ourselves in. And likewise, that gap is going to chop and change all the time, so we're not going to mirror each other's results. But again, with it being a game in hand, it means we're in total control if we make that gap bigger or not. And so that's what we have to aim to do. Just some thoughts on Reading finally and where they're at right now and the challenge they pose, because they seem a bit Jekyll and Hyde at the minute. The home record's good, the away record's bad. I mean, is it difficult to make of them where they're at? Yeah, so I think, well, you've just hit it there. I think one of the more consistent things of Reading this season has been the home form. We have to prepare for that. That's where they've tended to get the results from the start of the season continually through. And we have to prepare for that. We have to prepare for a well-organised team who wants to rebound after a poor result. And who generally at home have been tough to beat.
What I like about him is he never gets too high on a win, too low on a defeat. Straight down the middle, isn't he?
Just sensible. Sensible, because he knows how hard the industry is, and he knows how hard they've worked to get to where they are. So he's not going to start blowing smoke up the lads' backsides, and he ain't going to start hammering them, you know, because he works with them every day. So he knows. So, and again, you know, we've worked hard to get to this position, to be second in the league at the start of March. So, you know, there's been a couple of results that we've not expected. Saturday was always going to be tough. Away at Blackburn are pushing for promotion as well. So we're never going to be an easy game. We've not gone there and got turned over, you know, sort of 3-0, and we've had his bellies tickled. There's been a game, you know, but again, it's about bouncing back, and tonight is just go down there, be hard to beat, be resolute, and go and get a result.
Is that the key to it then?
I think so. I really do. And again, you can only draw on your own experiences. And when you're not getting a result, it's too easy to say to go back to basics. But that's what you do. You just go, right. We've got as organisation. We know we've got good players in it. But let's just go and do the easy thing. Let's make sure all the set players are good, because we might win 1-0 from a set play. Brilliant, fantastic. Thanks very much. Job done. You know, and it's not all about being flamboyant. And again, I'll use this phrase, and people might think it is the business end of the season. It don't matter what you play like; it's about getting results. You know, and even for me tonight, go down to Reading, and even if we come away with a point, that's 5 points gap. Right? Middlesbrough still got to win 2 more games than what we have. You know, so it's still in our hands. You know, not giving things away. Yeah, we want to go down there and we want to win. And if we can, you know, if we can get Duff's prediction of 3-0, then we'll all be rubbing his hands. You know, on his way out, he said 3-0 by half time as well. So, but it is for me. It's business, hard to beat, down to Reading, and I was a boring defender, but I would literally take a 1-0 clean sheet, 1-0. Smash and grab, thank you very much. How have you played tonight? Don't care, we've won 1-0.
Yeah. Wash bag under your arm, back
Correct.
on the bus.
Exactly.
3 points in your back pocket. That's where you want to be tonight.
Thank you.
Just a reminder of Reading's form. Doesn't make for great reading. They have had wins at home against Rotherham and Blackpool, defeats at Sunderland, Cardiff, and of course that thrashing by Middlesbrough. But I keep coming back to it. There's something about Reading at home. Only 3 defeats. At home all season, 10 wins, and of all the teams outside of the top 4, they've won more home games than anybody else. It's weird, isn't it, how teams can be so good at home yet so poor away?
It is, and Duff's mentioned it. It's character. It is. You know, the teams that get promoted and do well in this league have got character. And they go away from home and they get results. So there's something really that's fundamentally wrong with Reading and how they're performing. You know, but we're not talking about tonight about their away form because they're at home. So we have to take into consideration that they've only lost 3 games at home, and it is going to be a tough game, a real tough game tonight.
It's strange because it doesn't strike me. Well, it's not. I've been many times. It's not exactly a place that you would describe as being a cauldron of noise.
No.
Down at their place. So in terms of the lift that playing at home gives them, I'm not sure how much of a boost it does give them, because they're not a crowd that tends to get out of the seat and makes it a raucous atmosphere. You'll probably prove me wrong tonight, but it's never one of those places that would fill you with dread, I would assume, going as a player.
No.
And I mean that in a nice way, not disrespectful way.
It's a nice stadium. The pitch is nice. The crowd don't really get on your back.
No.
You know, and again, you asked me earlier on about the games that we had. It was the team on the pitch. You know, it weren't the crowd that affected you. You know, I speak to a lot of players. You know, now we're all finished, and you speak about old games. People refer to coming to Bramall Lane and saying, I hated playing at Bramall Lane. When you lot used to kick towards that cop, we couldn't get out, did it? But you're spot on.
You don't hear that about Reading, do you?
You never had that feeling at Reading. So,
No.
you know, it is a nice place to go and play football.
So, prediction time for Mr. Morgan. How do you see it going?
I've said I'd take a 1-0. I would take a 1-0. No problems whatsoever. In my heart of hearts, I think it will be a draw. I really do. But yeah, I'd take a 1-0.
Score draw? Do you think?
Score draw.
If it's going to be a draw.
If it's going to be a draw, score draw. But I'll take a 1-0 away from home.
And if it is going to be a 1-0 away from home, who's getting the goal?
Who's getting the goal? Ollie McBurney.
Ollie McBurney. Okay, fair enough. And that would be a nice way to roll into the weekend with Blackpool coming here. I think I looked yesterday. I think United have got 5 of the top 10 to play during the run-in, and I'm sure fans of United and other clubs are now inspecting the last few games to see who's got the tougher running. We had a quick look at Middlesbrough's, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's not too dissimilar to United's, really, in terms of the standard of opposition they've got to play in the closing weeks of the campaign.
I think you get to this stage of the season and people talk about, we've got them, and the dangerous teams to play are the ones at the top and the ones at the bottom, because obviously they've got stuff to play for. You're either fighting for your life, or you're wanting a playoff place, or you're wanting to get automatic promotion. But you also forget, and I sometimes call them the flip-flop brigade. The ones that are in they're in mid-table, they're not going to go down, they're not going to go up, so there's no pressure on them. They're literally happy, they're ready for their holidays. You know, but I think when you do have them teams, they also don't want to get injured. You know, whereas the teams that are going for something should really be putting their bodies on the line. But yeah, and I think sat here, you'd rather be playing the teams that are up and round you.
Here we go then. This is it. Sheffield United's game in hand. Will the gap be increased to 7, or will it come down even more? We're about to find out. Reading against Sheffield United. Let's hand you over to your match commentators, Mark Duffy and first, Matt Young.